Hi there. Sorry about that. Back-to-back meetings. Didn't end fast enough.
Okay.
Hi,
I
Aaron. How are you?
Doing okay from rainy Seattle.
Oh no.
It's gray and cloudy here too,
Yeah.
so coast to coast.
Yeah, I have a little bit of sun,
Yeah.
but
And I
it's
li-
cold.
oh, I was just in Minnesota, Megan.
Okay. All right. I feel you on that because
You win.
I
You win.
I have family coming in from Wisconsin and Minnesota at the end of the week. We're surprising my dad for his 60th birthday in Myrtle Beach. And so they are all very excited to come to the South.
Hi. Sorry. All right. So do we want to do some? I don't know if Roxanne and Aaron, you're both going to have slides. Do you want to do some testing?
I
I
have slides.
I actually decided to go slide free.
Fantastic.
Um, so I think I just need to share my entire screen. Hopefully I have killed every pop-up that might pop up. But you can see all my little windows here, right?
Yep.
And this little window. Okay. Aaron, have you seen this?
Sample request forms.
Advanced sample processing.
No.
Seemed like it might make my life easier. Not a feature in my version of iLab.
Mm. I will put it on my notes of things if I am to see them on the call. It was the sample processing form.
Advanced sample pro.
Advanced. Well,
I put something in the community yesterday. Nobody answered me.
mm. Well, I can ask them about that today, especially 'cause I have not gone into iLab. I have not had time to go in and check. Actually, I'll go ask Michael to check if we have it.
Aaron, you said you had slides. Would you like to test? Great. Terrific. So Megan, I will do the little standard ABRF slides and intro and then turn it to you. Is that
Mhm.
okay?
Perfect.
Have we flipped a coin to decide who's going to go in what order?
I'm first.
All right,
I mean,
alphabetically. Fantastic.
okay.
And do we know if
Well,
Andrew is going to join? Just so if we let
No,
him in the
he
waiting
he
from the
said he
waiting
was
room.
triple booked, so I don't think he's going to be here today.
Just just checking.
Yeah.
All right, we now got another minute. Anything else
Mhm.
we need to cover? Let me just make sure I got my. I can share. Let's look at that. So we should see that, right? So let me just. I never do this.
Ben can't share.
Right, it's like different things.
Whoopsies.
Okay. Yes. Oh, good.
Perfect.
Good. All right, I'll stop that for a quick second. And let's. Oh, wow, 40 people now. Wow.
Wow.
They heard who was speaking. And they're like, oh, I'm not missing that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had some pretty good attendance for the most part at these, especially when we've kind of niched down to more of like very specific topics. Um, just as a heads up, I know we need to get on, but I have gotten a request from iLab to see if we would be willing or able to allow non-ABRF members to join this, specifically around the iLab. And I said yes, because I think if they're not members, this is a perfect way to show why they should be members, or at least show us who's out there that might be a good person to reach out to separately. So far I have not gotten emails from them yet as to who is requesting to join. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. You might be seeing people that aren't usually on there.
Understood. All right. So we'll open the door.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna click the button here. Go. Hello, welcome everyone. We're just waiting for everyone to make the transition from the waiting room. Thank you for joining us today. Got nearly everyone making their way. For those of you I don't know, my name is Ken Shopman. I'm ABRF's Executive Director. Thank you for joining us for today's program. This is one of a series of conversations on lab operations software. Today we're going to feature 2 case studies. But before we get to the good stuff, I'm just going to share a couple of ABRF announcements and updates, just to give you the latest information from ABRF. Okay. Again, just in terms of our housekeeping, post your questions in the chat. If you'd like to introduce yourself, where you're connecting from in your institution, please go ahead and share that. If you have other ideas for future programs, please let us know, abrf@abrf.org. Some calendar updates for ABRF. I hope everyone is aware of our current strategy and priorities. We have task forces that are working on the implementation of each of these goals. More to come on all of that. We'll be reaching out to you very soon about ways that you can get involved to help advance these strategic goals for ABRF. And this is just another version of that with a little more detail and information about some of the objectives that are included within each of the strategic goals. You'll start to see some real results from these objectives in the form of some updates and new features on the ABRF website very soon. Some other activities that are happening this month, the very successful series hosted by the Light Microscopy Research Group on using AI tools for bioimaging continues next week. There is a general ABRF membership orientation. So if you're a new member, or if you'd like to learn more about what's available at ABRF and how you might get involved or make the most of your membership, we'll also have that session next week. We will have a special session on publishing. If you have some content that you would like to work on and to develop a manuscript, or if you'd like to learn more about how to take your content into a manuscript, members of the JBT, the Journal of Biomolecular Techniques editorial board, and other experienced ABRF members will be leading that discussion on how you can, and sharing more insights on how you can take your information and have it ready for publishing. And then we'll continue our series on peer mentoring. If it's an opportunity to engage with and learn from your colleagues in ABRF, perhaps you're having a current challenge in your workplace with a career advancement or recognition, there are wonderful ABRF members who participate in those conversations on a regular basis to offer their experiences and their insights. So you can find all this information and register for any of these events at the link that you can see on the screen. Just mark your calendar for the ABRF chapter meetings and other meetings coming up this year. Most of the dates are set. Registration will be opening as the details are finalized. I believe registration is open for the Southeast meeting, the CSER meeting. And then registration will be opening soon for the MAD-SCI meeting and the Mid-Atlantic meeting and the other meetings once they're finalized. Of course, registration is open for the ABRF annual meeting. Early registration and the best registration rates are available through January 16. So save a little money and make your plans to join. I hope you're all participating in the ABRF core community, which is a collection of actually about 150 forums and conversations around general topics and very specific topics where you can leverage the experience and understanding of all 3,500 of your ABRF colleagues. If you have a question, if you're facing a challenge, ABRF members are very eager and willing to share. So explore that resource, reach out if you have any questions. As I mentioned, registering by January 16th for the annual meeting, and there's the shortcut to the annual meeting website as well. One special feature of the annual meeting, if you have time in your schedule and can join us a little bit early, is we have pre-meeting workshops. These will be held on Saturday, March 28th. There are 2 full-day sessions and 1 half-day session on the topics you can see listed on the screen. These are space limited. They're designed to be very interactive. So if your schedule permits, consider registering for those as well. And you can scan the QR code here on the screen to learn more and register for those programs. All right, well, that's the end of the announcements, thankfully. And I will turn it over to Megan Kraft, a member of the ABRF Executive Board and host of this series, to tell us more about today's program. Megan?
Yeah, hi everybody. So I just wanted to quickly connect back to something that Ken said. We do have a community for this specific series, and there you have the ability to, sorry, my phone wants to talk now too. You have the ability to see all of my brain is not working, of the video recordings of the other sessions that we've had, and we will continue as long as the presenters are willing to put these recordings up. So if you want to send them to your programmer or maybe someone else that's within your institution to see that, you have the ability to do so. So kind of launching off of Aaron and what he did last time, which was last minute, and we appreciate all the love and support that we got for that. We are going to continue to kind of move on with forms and how are people utilizing them? How are you integrating them? And so we're going to have Roxanne tell us about her forms, which she showed me, I don't know, a couple months ago. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do all those things. And then Aaron will continue to provide some more information on his forms and some of those integrations. So sending it over to Roxanne.
Hello. I hope you will excuse me. I managed to catch a whopper of a cold while I was on Christmas break. But I'm going to attempt to present here today. So my lab, and I do not claim to be an expert in this, but Megan asked what people are doing, and I said, here's what I'm doing, and then she asked me to talk. Um, I run a nucleic acid technologies lab. So we do a lot of the basic stuff before you get to next-gen sequencing. And we have a pretty extensive iLab site, and I'm at Johns Hopkins. I should probably mention that too. So we use a lot of custom forms. From my perspective, custom forms allow you to ask customers questions and record their answers. They allow entry of detailed project information, and they allow customers to kind of iterate their requests to get to a price if you have a really complicated pricing structures. So all of my forms have pricing linked to the decisions that the customer makes when they when they fill out the form. Cons, I don't have Aaron working for me. So the data that is in iLab pretty much stays in iLab unless I hand move it out, because I don't have that API skill. Complicated forms might intimidate customers, but then again, we all know iLab intimidates customers, so I'm not sure how much of a con that is. And it does require, to do these forms, it requires some very basic understanding of computer logic for you, not for your customer. I'm still surviving off the course in BASIC I took in high school in 1984. So pretty basic computer skills, but I'm not going to start from scratch today. I was asked to talk about what I've done with my forms. So I'm assuming that everyone has forms to start from. I guess if there's a lot of interest on basic form creation, you could let Megan know and we could make that a topic. There is a fair amount of help on the iLab community, the real iLab community, as opposed to the ABRF iLab community, which I'm showing here. I was looking at this and discovered there's advanced sample processing forms you can create that I don't know anything about, and I want to know more. Um, if anyone knows anything about that, please let me know. Um, and usually your institution will have someone that can help you create basic forms. So we want this to be interactive, as Ken said, so please chat, or if you want to interrupt, I am fine with you raising your hand and asking a question too. So to start from not quite the beginning, this is what my website looks like if you click on the request services page. To put something here, hopefully you all know that you need three things. You need your service list, which we have a large service list that, and the service list has all of your prices associated with it. And then you need your custom form, which is over here in your administration tab under custom forms. And then you also need a service template right here that you use to embed your custom form in to get it to show up here. So when you create your service template, you type in this information that the customer will see there, and then you link the custom form, and you will note that this information that's here is different than this information here. So this shows up inside your form. This is what the researcher sees when they land on your request page. So I'm not really gonna talk about this part of it. We're just gonna talk about the making the custom forms. But if I get to the end and you want to talk about that, we can. I can pull that up live too. I am attempting to do this live. I'm hoping that my internet and iLab are both behaving today. What I'm going to do is show you one of my slightly complicated forms from both what the user sees, which is this side, and then what I had to do to create this form. And we'll see. Let's dismiss the iLab message. Okay, so when you go in to edit your forms, this is what you see. This instruction up here is the text that was on the page I just clicked on. It will show up here at the top of your form when you enter the form. So this is where you put your generic information. And I'm just kind of going over this because every time I go into iLab, I'm like, where do I edit the thing that I want to edit? There's too many information sections. And the thing that is really helpful when you go to make these forms is for you to kind of have spelled out in your mind at least what you are trying to get out of your customer. If you have an original paper form, that can be a good start. Or if you have a form you hate online, that can be a good start too. So what I did then, I want to know the customer's project, and then I have a little instructions field here. You choose the instruction fields or the type of field that you want here. So the instructions field is just, as you can see here, a text section. and probably a medium text box that then you can type into. And from there, I depend really heavily on this show if function here. And the show if function has a help section that shows you what you need in order to be able to put conditional logic into your forms. So you can use the two parallel upright symbols, which is the symbol that should be the shift above the return key on your keyboard. And you can use the ampersand to indicate. So the ampersands are ands and ors are the bar symbol. Um, and they do give you an example here. Um, what is really beautiful about this little box right here is that you can see about 8 letters in it. And most of the time you need really long phrases in there to do what you want to do. So I'm going to show you right now, on my form, it says to enter the appropriate number of samples next to the array option that matches your sample number, and then click the Add Selected Services button. Right now, you don't see an Add Selected Services button here. So to do that, you have to click on the array that you might want, which is the service you might want, and then you can type in how many you want and add the selected services. So to get this to show up, I created this chip selected form field, which is a select. And for this, to do any of this conditional logic, you can choose either a pull down menu, which is what I have here. You can use a radio button or a checkbox. Those are all things that let you give a customer choices. And once your customer makes a choice, then you can insert the conditional logic. So for this case, for chip selected, I then have all of these fields down here. All of them are conditional logic for that chip selected. Megan, can you monitor the chat and let me know if there's something in there I should answer? Thank you. So for example, you can't see what this says here, but here is the list. And when you're doing this, it's really helpful to have some sort of text editing window open that you can paste in and work from what you are doing, from your options. So, for example, this is what that text says, that creates this drop-down list here. If I want it to change, say like I want to get rid of the Cyto 850 array because Illumina doesn't actually make that anymore, I can delete it here and then copy and paste it from here back into here, or I can just delete it here. It's the last one, so it's easy. And then I can save it, and when I go back over here, it will update what's here. Unfortunately, I have to log in and out. I could start a new request to get it to actually update for you live, so I'm not going to do that. But this is where I get the list, and they have to be separated by commas, and there can't be any spaces between the comma and the thing that you want to be in the list. I hope you can see all of that. Do I need to make the font bigger? I don't know if I can. I guess I can make it a heading. So you can see the commas and then there's no spaces in between. So now I created these charges that go with each of these options here. So the one I picked on the test was this global screening array. I did put some HTML coding in here to make it show up bold. And then I went in to select services and picked from my list of services the particular services that go with this particular service, and then associated those services with this field so that these two choices here would show up. And then I put in this conditional logic over here, which says, I'll paste it in here so you can see it. It says chip selected equals global screening array. So chip selected is the name of this unique ID for this field. So that's why I put chip selected here, and then equals, and then whatever comes after the equal sign has to be exactly what you typed, including spaces, as what you put in your list. So it has to say exactly global screening array GSA. If I leave the parentheses part off, it won't find it. So I did all of that. I did this one field for each option that the customers picked. All of the associated possible types of charges they can pick. And that all just gets me done with my first section of the form. And then I want to know how many different people are going to be sending me samples. And then the other thing that I have here is we have instructions for how to send the samples. So I use um, yeah, where is it here? The attachment option as a field type to put this instruction document into the form so people can download it. And we have two different types of instructions. I could make these conditional too. I forgot to when I made this form. That would require a really long conditional phrase, and I'll show you one of those. But I can do it because I would have to make it say chip type equals, and then all of the choices that are GWAS would need to be listed as ORs. So with that double bar symbol. And then for the methylation one, it would just need to choose if they chose one of the two methylation options. We also require a sample information file, so I put the template here, and then I put this upload option in here so that the customer can upload their files to me, and this is the one thing that I can download and then use in our downstream LIMS. Then the other place where this form gets complicated is that you can choose to add on other services. And if you pick one of them, it populates in all of the instructions for doing that particular additional service. Um, and all of these also have all of the formula, all the conditional formatting here in these show if fields. So, and you can do that for absolutely every kind of field. Like these instructions only show if you put the conditional, if you have the conditional formatting, they only show if the customer selects it. And it includes everything right down to the shipping instructions that change. Um, if you, and there's a mistake right there that I need to fix. They change, the shipping instructions change depending on whether they're just shipping us samples or if they're shipping us DNA or if they're shipping us blood or something that needs to have the DNA extracted from it. So that is kind of the basics of how to do it. Um, I can show you the more complicated format. So this field right here shows if they choose, do these samples require quantification? Yes, or if they choose some of the samples require quantification. So that is this field right here. Do they require it? Yes, no, some. If they choose yes or some, then this field appears. Um, and I'm not sure that I have any that have the and where you have to pick two things to be true for the form to show, but it would be similar to this, only you would put the ampersands in here instead of the double bar. You would put two ampersands in. And this could actually be two different fields. So it could be, do these samples require quantification for one field and say um, the slide surface or slides are picked in the radio button in the FFPE sample type. So it doesn't have to be the same field. You can make it require that somebody fill out two or three or four, whatever logic condition you need to know that you need that piece of information. You can chain them together like this. And I usually, because this field is so small, I will usually do it in a, work notebook pad like this and then copy and paste it back into the field. Um, so one of the cool things about it is that as you make it, it does have this form preview function here. So you can pick one and then see if what you did up above worked the way you thought it would be working. Um, and then you can make adjustments up there and check them really quickly down here in the form preview. Um, and most of the time, what you see in the form preview is what you see when you get into the actual form and try and place an order. But I do usually recommend that after you think you have your form ready to go, you save it and then um, try and actually use it. Uh, the other thing I have in here are milestones that get added as part of that service template process, not as the custom form, but these are all manual entry. So you have to remember to go back in your form and upload them or change them every time you hit another step. Um, so that's kind of my quick overview. Do we have questions? Hi, Sarah.
Hi. Look, thank you so much, especially when you're not feeling well. That was really great. I'm Sarah from Griffith University in Australia.
Oh,
We are also using iLab, and we are embarking on a little bit of an uplift. I was really interested. I feel like I understand at the beginning, you said with these conditional forms, it shows the customer what the cost is going to be. Did I understand that correctly, depending on what they selected?
correct. So on this form right here, if I type in that I have 98 samples that I'm sending and then hit add selected service,
Mm,
it will think and it says the charges are added below. So I
okay,
go
awesome.
on here and it shows me.
Yeah, nice.
And
That's
then
awesome.
I've got some blood that I'm gonna send and it's just a tiny little bit and it's for 65 samples. I can add that. Um,
Nice.
and it'll show down here, and then I can even go in and say, oh, I've got some saliva too. So I'm gonna send 20 saliva samples. Um, and so they just keep adding, the prices just keep adding at the bottom.
Mm,
Um, so you can
excellent.
build an estimate, you can change these quantities before you place the order,
Mm.
and it'll update the pricing.
Yeah, great. So yeah, look, I have people in my team who know iLab far better than I, but just thinking future forward, we have a lot of researchers trying to prepare their grants and they need to put costings in and they say, well, we don't know how to put it together. But actually I feel like this is the solution and we already have this. So that's great.
Yeah, I know it does have this quoting option. I don't usually use it for that. Maybe if someone on here does use it as a quote function,
Mm.
I usually want people to be putting in an order, like you're actually going to send me these samples. Um
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And look, that's the other feedback that we get is when they put in a request, they don't know how much it's going to cost. So yeah, this is really look. Um, we might with some of our new core facilities, we might need to do a bit more fancy formatting on our forms, but I'm loving the possibility. So thank you so much for sharing.
you're welcome. I don't want to use all of Aaron's time, but I see there's 10 things in the chat.
Most of them I've responded to. Brian just sent an up one, but overall I've responded to them.
Okay, cool. Well, if there aren't other questions, then I'll turn this over to Aaron, and maybe I'll read through the chat and respond to.
Okay. Thank you, Roxanne. Can everyone see my slides? All right, great. So I am here today to kind of expand a little bit on what Roxanne had just outlined on conditional logic, but also to outline what we've done at Seattle Children's to take this custom form data and connect it through an API in our case, a Power App, but this is also kind of a template or a framework that can be expanded upon to also connect to an API to a LIM system or anything else really. But I'll just kind of go into our experience there. And I'm the director of operations for all of our core facilities. We only have 7 or so, but I'm also the iLab guy at our institute. because I had been previously in my old job. So, and if you're like me, and your days in college philosophy class was half a lifetime ago, I'll try not to get too jargony or technical. Or if you like the jargon, you can hit me up offline. And I don't know if see what I did there? That's a little hidden conditional logic joke there. Um, so at a glance, my talk today will overview distinct but interconnected aspects of what we've developed at Seattle Children's for what I kind of describe as our core facilities digital architecture. One that starts with iLab, where the user completes the custom form. It has that custom logic that'll adapt based on the inputs the user provides. And then it flows through the API, by using Power Automate and dumping it into a SharePoint list, and then ending in a Microsoft tool such as Power Apps, where users can interact with the core and we can delve into more operational insights, because what iLab really is at the end of the day is a request intake and billing mechanism. At least it is for us. I imagine it is for the large audience here. But what it's not is a really kind, user-friendly way for people to interact with the core and get relevant real-time updates onto where their request stands, how much of it has been processed or sequenced, whatever it really is. So we're trying to expand upon that there. And in all of these environments, its efficiency is key to the value that we add for what we've put together, whether it's for our core staff or for our users. So adapting to use the conditional logic is very helpful to make sure that user are only entering the information that they must enter and nothing extra. So like most cores, the life cycle of a request will start with the user initiating the request, and often when completing a iLab custom form. I've listed in the screenshot here an example of one of our custom forms. It's not quite as detailed or complex as Roxanne's, but the data here is still governed by that conditional logic. And I'll introduce kind of briefly the conjunction and disjunction on the next slide, which are the operators that kind of dictate the reality of what the user sees on the screen when they're filling out that user request. And as you can see, our core has kind of a modestly complex example. In this case, it's for receiving histology or immunohistochemistry requests, or sometimes both within the same request. So there are aspects of each request type that kind of overlap with each other, and there are some that are distinct from another. So we apply conditional logic to make sure that the request is easy for users to navigate while ensuring that the core gets the data that it needs. And at this step is really, where you decide not only the type of data that you want to complete the request, but what you want to have in a Power App to glean more operational data, as opposed to just downloading a CSV file and from iLab and manually doing the analysis there. So yeah, as Roxanne kind of outlined, each question kind of has to have that unique identifier. And I saw a comment on the chat where it's recommended to have it very, very short and precise. And that's really helpful for, you have that very small window to add these text phrases. So anything you can do to shorten it, it really is helpful. So again, I recognize this isn't a philosophy class, so I'll just give a quick overview of some examples that we have. The form that you saw on the previous slide starts off with a simple set of questions shown here. Is the request for histology, IHC, or both? The primary logical operators that you have available in iLab involve those conjunction, that's the and, or the disjunction, that's the or operators. And for conjunction, it's just that double ampersand. In philosophy terms, it's just the and condition. It's a strict gatekeeper that asserts if the proposition is true, it's only true if and only if every one of its parts is true. So for example, in a histology core, we use this for efficiency and compliance. For instance, consider the statement if the user status equals new and the sample submission form has been read, then they can complete, then they can get assigned a date to drop off their samples. And if they haven't read the form, then they need to go back and read it before they can drop off samples. And then in disjunction, it's the double bar. Unlike it, like kind of an inclusive or statement where you could say, I want to choose either soup or salad, for example, the disjunction is satisfied if at least one of those parts is true. So imagine, for example, in a genomics core, researcher brings in a sample that equals a sample type is RNA, or the sample type is live tissue. The both will require cold storage, so you can kind of have that double bar operator there to be satisfied. If either of those conditions are met, then you can follow on with the question outlining the dry ice or whatever it is, kind of first that kind of sample storage. And then there's opportunities where you can combine both, where as I've had listed here on the right there, where we have the and or operators included in the same phrase. So for this case, it's an example of this request might be IHC or it might be both histology and IHC, and we need to get more information on the specimen fixation method if it wasn't formalin. Then we can have that kind of follow-up question asked in the form after those conditions have been outlined. So what's the point of all this? Let me check how I am on time because I can go into a lot of this. So the point of this is that we need to get our data on user needs for whatever request it is right the first time, because that's the opportunity when the cores interact with or the users interact with the core, and they want to make sure that they provide all the data that they need, nothing more, and that the request gets off on the right foot. And iLab really is this unique, very data-rich environment where we pull in like information on our grants and also information on which members are affiliated with which lab, which access do they have to a grant for payment. iLab, at least for us, is the only environment where that information lives. So it's a very useful tool to at least start off on getting this information. But if you're looking at the custom forms, then what you can do is you can report out on that information that's entered through the API. And what I've got listed here is some screenshots of, the reporting page that I'm sure we're all familiar with, where you can look at charges and requests and events, but also those custom forms where you can download a CSV. So what we are doing is automating that process. So instead of having to go in and manually download that CSV file, we are using an API to automate that process on a daily basis for us. You can define how frequently you want it, for how frequently that information gets pulled from iLab, and then what do we do with it? First it lands into a SharePoint list. I'll go in that in a moment, but then you can really play with it a lot more in a Power App. But it all has to start here in iLab. So if you are interested in more exactly what goes into setting up the API, I recommend viewing the recording of the presentation that I gave in the December version of this meeting, where I go into a lot more of the detail, and I think I kind of walk through how to edit the Power Automate flow and integrate the custom, the custom form and the client ID and the token. But just very briefly, on the administration tab for iLab, you'll be able to create a client ID and a token, which is basically what gives the API permission to read data from iLab and put it where you tell it to go. In our case, that's a SharePoint list, but you can also integrate like a LIMS software. We're actually doing that for our genomics core right now for the same process that we've already developed for Power Apps, but just putting into LIMS. So this is what that brief overview looks like. We have a synchronized Power Automate flow to call the API using that custom that client ID and the token that I showed on the last page. We've defined it to do this on a daily basis because our histology core is busy, but you can define how frequently you really want that to happen. And then, this is really the linchpin of where the flow makes it all possible. So it connects to the API. You can set the frequency, like I said, define the data destination, like the SharePoint list, and you can set other limits, like for different conditions that I meant within that flow. Like if the request ID already exists in the SharePoint list, you can check that and update it if necessary. If it's not there, then you can add it. That's all possible through the conditions that you outline in the Power Automate flow. A little bit of redacted data here, but this is basically where this custom form data lands initially from the API. It's in a SharePoint list, which is almost as if you think about like it's kind of like an enhanced CSV. It's all just like in a data and it's in a grid. You have all that information. And again, this can be adapted to the only show the data that we developed that conditional logic to initially get from iLab. And then what you can do from this stage is to really run with it. So I didn't highlight it here, but you can see that there's the integrate option on the menu there. So that will give you the option to integrate that with the Power App. And that's where you can really kind of go back to enhancing that user experience within the core. This is what we've put together so far for our histology core, where now our users can go in and see exactly the degree to which their request has been completed. Again, coming back to exactly what the details of that request are that were entered into that custom form. It doesn't involve tissue processing, embedding, if it's parapet embedding or not, sectioning, all those information that initiated in the custom form, that's going to live here. So they can now see where exactly their samples are in terms of processing to a degree that's not possible in iLab. And then there's also those additional enhancements that you can provide to a user to upload an image. The reference that I always give is to make sure that the tissue is oriented the right way on the slide, for example. And there's so many other things that you can do. Again, that kind of goes above and beyond what iLab is kind of designed to do. It's not really designed for people to upload and view and interact in that way. Again, it's primarily just that request intake and scheduling and billing platform. So this is where a user can see exactly where maybe their own requests are. You can define it to give them visibility to requests that are also in their lab, but maybe from a different person in their lab. And then for the core side, we get the entire visibility into all the different requests. So you can really customize who sees what and to what level. And again, it's mobile friendly. That's a big kind of hindrance that iLab has. It's if you're going to use iLab, you need to have a laptop or a PC in front of you. But in a Power Automate environment, you can just pull it up on your phone and get the same kind of information that you want. And then there's other aspects that you can do to where certain milestones are met. You can automate an email message out to that user, again, from the email message that you're going to get from the API data. That's going to live in this world here. So you can enable those notifications whenever a condition has been met. And then on the back end, for people like me on the operations side, you can get a lot of information from what had originated in that custom form in terms of sample number and the types of different services that were requested, and then kind of plot out then how good your core is in terms of turning around requests in a timely manner based on the type of request that it is. And again, this is a histology example, but I imagine this could be broadly applied to other cores that deal with, requests that vary significantly between how much labor is involved. If you have a core that has maybe 5 to 10 people, you can kind of peg each individual staff member's productivity with how much workload they have. Kind of do a little bit of a comparison, kind of understand why there might be differences. So ultimately, what we're trying to move away from is what you see on the left there, which is that handwritten whiteboard in the lab, where if you're like me, sometimes it's hard to read other people's handwriting, or it's not updated, or something gets smudged, and it's just not the cleanest audit-friendly way to go about business. It is helpful as a quick reference point to glance at, but ultimately, I can't download that data on that board, but I can, and I can view it in Power App if it's digitized from iLab. So that's what we've done. These are a quick acknowledgement slide for people on my team. And again, if you are interested in more about exactly what goes into that API setup, I encourage looking at the December meeting, or I realize I don't have my email listed here, but I'm happy to chat or answer other questions offline. All right. Thank you. I wasn't looking at the chat, so let me see if there's anything on the
And put your link the link to your December
Ah, thank you.
in there, and I just put my email in there. So
I'll do the same.
Sarah has another question.
I am very, very interested in this topic. This is what we've been discussing a lot. So again, thank you so much. Look, I haven't seen your December meeting. I'm sorry, these questions might be in there. Just a few thoughts that popped into my head. The example you gave was using custom forms to feed the data into your API. I was wondering, do you have any cause where there is people booking equipment to walk up and use, and is that data also feeding through your API?
Scheduling equipment like a microscope or flow
Yeah,
cytometer or something
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that. It can get that data.
Mm,
What we've pointed it to look for is the custom forms data, but you can also point the API to look for, I think that'd be called an event
yeah,
in iLab, where you can
yeah.
see like the scheduled hours, the actual hours, and
Mm,
what may have changed and who it was and what equipment it was. That is
mm.
possible. It's just not what we've done.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but the
Okay.
the the process to establish that is very, very similar.
Okay, thank you. And I understand that there's 3 data reports that come out of iLab, and they don't necessarily have a unique identifier that links them. So I was wondering, does your API feed the data from one report to your data analysis, or are you pulling all 3 and it merges them together? And again, I might be asking a silly question. This is not my native language. These are just the things I've picked up, and it is boggling my mind a little bit.
Sorry, can you detail the three again?
Yeah, so I understand there's like a charges report, an events
Mhm,
report, and another one I can't remember, sorry, because we've just had our big break here.
mhm,
We've all
mhm,
just been
mhm.
on holidays. My understanding is there's no unique identifier for your say your equipment or your event to link data across the 3 events. So I was just wondering in your setup, are you pulling the data from one of the iLab reports only, or are you using data across multiple reports and linking them somehow?
We're doing it from one,
Mm,
but what that will include is a lot of the at least key information that could link them
mm,
together, like the user, like
yeah,
the request ID, um,
yeah, yeah,
which will be present for a reservation or for like a service request,
mm,
and the user's name, email, so forth.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
Oh,
It,
sorry, one more question. Which report are you using?
we are, it's just it's called the custom forms report.
Of course, that's probably the third report I couldn't think of. Thank you so
Yeah, I'm
much.
looking at it now. It's charges, requests, events, and custom forms.
Thank you so
Yeah, of
much. I really appreciate it.
course.
There is a
So, yeah, I was gonna say Sophie asked if you could go a little more in depth of the limbs that you are sending the iLab info to.
Mhm. Yeah, so we demoed and just purchased a license on something called SciSpot, SciSpot. It's a new kind of a platform that we're trying to use the API to because that's going to inform like our ordering of like reagents and inventory. So if we can kind of make the connection what our demand is that we see in iLab in terms of, again, the sample number, the request type, which instrument is it going to use and to what extent. We're trying to plug that information to SciSpot then to kind of get a sense of what's coming into the core in terms of demand and at what threshold we might need to trigger reordering something based on what we define for that. So it's called SciSpot, and I'm kind of more tangential to its use, but we like it so far.
Brian's asking about do you have updated API documentation?
I agree. It's ancient. The iLab stuff. I do. I hesitate. I'm hesitating in my response because it's so customized to like how I use iLab, and it has got my little notes, so it's not quite shareable yet. But but I can see if there's a way to go about that. It's all just kind of like a lived experience that we're trying to put on paper.
I would say too, Brian, maybe put that question out to the iLab software community. There's a lot of different institutions utilizing these systems, and a lot of us have created our own version of a training guide or manuals. And we've had quite a few people present on those in the past. So maybe go on that community and see, just ask, has anybody created API documentation? And there might be someone. All right, looks like we are out of questions. Next month, we will be talking about the case study from UNC. So we recently did a analysis on should we stay with iLab? Should we not go? Should we go to some of the other competitors? And so my team, who is very heavily involved in that, is kind of give you their perspective on, not trying to, I can't even think of the word right now. I'm not, like when you tell somebody the end of a movie or a book. I don't know why I can't think of that right now, but
Spoiler. No
yeah,
spoilers.
yeah, not trying to give you a spoiler, but we're still with iLab. So, but we'll at least be able to walk you through kind of the analysis that we did and give you a better idea of, at least now that we've compared some of the three major users or software, what we went through. So that's next month. We do not have anything from March right now. So if anybody's got topics that you would love to know more about, or that you would like to present on because you think you're just killing it over there, which you probably are, then let us know. And we will see you guys next month. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.